This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss. Look who's starting it all off, it's Raven.
No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through him. He's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
SKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lures, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Inu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Ambulance immediately comes back like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3, so back and forth.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the GM tier mid-season final between DYS Budget Approved and Bliss Excelsior. I am Egda, joined by Spectrion today, and we want to get into this matchup sooner rather than later. These teams have been waiting, they're very eager to get going. Budget Approved coming off a bit of a tough loss in the open tier, so they've had one attempt at gold. Let's see if they can recoup their losses now against a team the caliber of Bliss Excelsior, but of course that's going to be a very difficult task indeed.
An uphill battle for sure. Obviously, both these teams have not struggled too much in the EU GM tier. Both of them getting a 3-0 in their respective semi-finals against EMC, Managama, and Zero Recall, respectively. So neither have dropped a map yet in at least this bracket, but that's obviously going to change pretty quick. First map of the day going to be Busan. It's where one of these teams are going to have their record dirtied, and after that, it's going to be loser's pick all the way through to the rest of the day.
Yeah, two teams, of course, coming in at the top of their game. DYS Budget Approved. They have to be a bit careful to not let the earlier loss affect them too much against the Dream Eaters. Of course, congratulations to the Dream Eaters on winning out on the open tier. But there's still gold to be played for, and off the back of that, both these teams going to be more than hungry for it with Busan on our opening map. Having a quick look at these rosters, both these teams have played not just for this season, but for other seasons as well. They've had a lot of time together, which means they've also had time to formulate their picks and their bans. From what I could recall, DYS Budget Approved are a favored Wrecking Ball team, which is certainly going to help them out in the current climate of Ball, even with that slight knock to the ammo count. Ball still very much
That is nothing.
particularly viable.
Those nerfs
Look.
are actually nothing.
Yeah, dude, but like, I liked the 20 extra ammo because
Okay, but like, have you tried hitting more bullets? Like, it changes very little. Most of the time you won't run out of ammunition on Wrecking Ball, right? And mine's duration. If you're running into a mine 17 seconds after it's been planted, then that's a you problem. Yeah, you might just be like low-key terrible. I know Egda is, so just take it, man. It is the way it be.
What are you calling me out for, bro? I've never done anything to you.
The truth has to come through. Obviously, DPS protected. See what the rebound is?
Yeah, cast the first ban on the side of Bliss Excelsior, and then, yeah, the Wrecking Ball on the other side of things. So, looks like Bliss Excelsior, they have Power on their team, a new up-and-coming prospect for Imperial.
He's literally messaging me right now. He says, FML, why? I'm going to feed so hard. I hate you. I've scrimmed once.
Well, we know the amount of preparation that Bliss Excelsior have done for this matchup. Then, yeah, more favoring the Hazard generally. Of course, a pretty viable pick right now, especially with the Ball out of the question. Hazard, a bit of a multi-tool, I'd say, unless the map is like extremely oriented towards like a hard poke or a really aggressive dive style where you need some crazy mobility. Then you okay, look, you just I'm trying to put on the show, man. I don't know why you are like such a hater.
I'm sorry, you had this run-on metaphor about being a multi-tool, except for in niche use cases. I don't know if you ever tried to use a multi-tool for anything. They kind of suck at their job. Anyway, here's the lineup here. Bronan, Delta, Reno, Winch, Ascend. We've seen them all play before. Bronan pretty attached to the Genji Tracer variety of heroes with no Cassidy in the lobby. Then going to be a lot more simple to play them, right? But if the map's going to really tip towards, we're going to have to wait and see on the other side of things. Of course, it's going to be Bliss Excelsior. So very different look on the other side. But again, Power, the player we know most about, mostly because he's been tossing my rank games, i.e. I've been tossing his rank games and, you know, apologizing for it. But Percy, Arrow, Power, Takailan, and Ichbian Online is going to beat the roster. Note the Wu Yang in the favored hero. The character is lobby admin right now, so we do need to worry about it.
Yeah, you can be a bit of a mechanical warlord on that character and just end up getting a lot of work done. Interesting that Tark covering the Alari with the preferred character, and Alari Wu Yang backline would be the absolute stuff of nightmares. I mean, it falls to like any decent macro play. Like, okay, what if we just like jump on them? But also, you know, if you can just click on them harder than they can click on you, then that's always going to be a good strategy for your backline necessarily. A lot of these players pretty recognizable. Tark and Ikbin have definitely played for Bliss Excelsior for quite a while, but everyone else seems relatively new, at least to the Bliss Excelsior roster. So I like the fact it's a team where they are keeping pieces which have done them well, and then any pieces which aren't quite working out, aren't quite getting them the victories and the championships they need, they are more than willing to replace them. They're more than willing to find upgrades, and it's still a very young team. It's still a very hungry team, and we definitely want to see an exciting performance out of them today.
Indeed, content is a nice thing to have, as ever, right? Obviously, we've been pretty stuff for games here at CGL, right? We're running, what, 2-3 different streams at the moment. There's 7 grand finals scheduled for today across EU and NA, so it's a busy work for us, but hopefully this is going to be the creme de la creme, right? The most exciting game of the day. Console, I believe we have plenty of console players actually in right now. As I mentioned, Power started on console, currently transitioning over to the PC, mouse and keyboard, due to, you know, the advanced opportunities that might open up to you, but I believe we are ready to head in. So, hopefully, Cast the App will be over and Busan can begin.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves Cast the App, especially when it's from the 2 most handsome men, like on the CGL desk, bar none, and it is not even particularly close. But yeah, DYS going to be opening things up. Both teams hovering the Orisa here, of course, would have yet to be expected. Provided that Arrow doesn't roll out on Soldier, things should be okay for Bliss Excelsior. But unfortunately, no. Arrow is going to leave spawn room on the Soldier. Is this a throw pick? Probably, but hopefully Arrow can prove me wrong.
Soldier is in one of those states where people think he's good. I never particularly agreed, but Bliss Excelsior do have slightly better poke cons, the US budget approved. As long as they don't peek into the Widowmaker, we'll find a lot more value in the neutral. And
yeah, but immediately the call comes through. Persky across the map just falls to half HP, and immediately Bronan is right there. Reno going to be taking down Power as well. Seemed that Power was not expecting to take quite so much damage upon peeking that angle, and so the Widow composition is going to be stuffed for time being. Yeah, we get our mini, it's okay.
Yeah, Bronan will be able to escape. It did get a little bit awkward there. The Widowmaker's no more, Freya out instead, so again, in the pure poke damage, Bliss Excelsior just have the raw DPS, but Bronan has such an easy 1v1 into both of these hit scans that you're not quite sure if the risk is really worth the reward, especially in like a double flex meta like this.
Yeah, there's not a single character on the Bliss Excelsior roster that can really easily peel off the pressure from Bronan. There's no Brig, obviously the Cass is banned, so it's going to be a particularly tough time. Bliss Excelsior want to push through the side of the drum here, get a little bit aggressive now. Health bars from budget approved are falling quite low, and it seems like the point has been all but entirely vacated here. Bliss Excelsior moving up forward and forward. Both Orisa still jostling for positioning on the objective right now. I was going to talk about Ascend maybe coming up onto a Kiriko ultimate, but may not be so necessary when Arrow's taken out of the fight.
Awesome, available, not loose when all is said and done, right? Ichibin online, still alive. Power the same could not be said, but you do find a trade.
Yep, and Ascend will end up utilizing that Kitsune Rush, which obviously charged up extremely quickly. Budget approved are going to have essentially a full stack, so are Bliss Excelsior. Upcoming fight could be a tad chaotic.
It absolutely could. Kitsune Rush you'd probably rather have back if you are DYS budget approved. Bliss Excelsior have the full 5 essentially, but only 8% worth of progress. We'll see which matters more as we head into what could be one of our final battles.
Yeah, you have Sojourn and Soldier trying to fight for the same angle. Sojourn as the objectively better character, winning the angle, and then Arrow peeking it. Not really getting a lot there, though. Delta has to be careful. Seems like the attention of the DYS budget-approved backline is gone, and this time Arrow is able to sneak in. It's kind of like a mosquito or an ant, you know? You hit enough times if you're Arrow, eventually something is gonna go. We do pop the Wu Yang ultimate in there. The Tidal Blast good enough to get a kill onto Tark, but it's just too little too late.
Indeed. Flip eventually comes to 98%, right, will be found all is said and done, but you're pretty happy about this win if you are Bliss Excelsior. Okay, you're much happier about it. Already, you went for pretty, even ult trade, right? You're happy about your economy heading into the next fight, but you get such a late kill. Bronan is not going to be respawning for a very long time, so as long as Bliss Excelsior, I was going to say play proactively, they can maintain their lead, but they decided to give up a lot of space, wanting to keep playing this 5v4 for as long as possible. I'm not sure it's going to work out for them.
Yeah, they're really trying to play that push and pull game as carefully as possible. Window goes in, but Reno actually doesn't care about it at all. Walks past with the Terror Surge, slams the spear down. At the same time, Bronan put the Pulse Bomb in. It was far too much damage for the members of Bliss Excelsior to bear. And Delta here ends up ripping the overclock in an overtime situation. And barring one late flip, budget approved seemed to be large and in charge.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to agree with that. I do think it is the double hit scan setup of Bliss Excelsior that I mentioned time and time again that is really letting them down, right? If the Tracer of Bronan is getting value, whose job is it to really stop, right? I mean, I guess it can be online, but the 1v1 with the Wu Yang versus the Tracer is very dependent on whether you actually hit the balloon or not, right? If you do great recalls force, you're safe, but if you don't really get a connection, if the Tracer gets inside that threat range, it's not a lot you can really do, but, eventually fall to the flex DPS. So I think if Bliss Excelsior don't want to deal with a Bronan, we need to be seeing more value from Percy, especially, who wants to keep picking this Widowmaker. It's a high-risk, high-reward hero. So far, we haven't seen the reward.
It's going to be a lot harder for anyone to directly contest the Widow on this high ground, at least not nothing like high ground. The Bronan doesn't need to get onto the high ground to be able to take down a Wu Yang playing on the side here, and BAP eventually all the resources going to be forced in Immortality Field as well. And it's as was said earlier, Bronan is doing far too much right now. There's nothing on the Bliss Excelsior side that really should get Tracer down.
Yeah, even with the pretty early resource advantage we had, right, or with the tank v tank, you don't kill anyone. And so it ends up that even though Power's doing a great job keeping Reno, at the very least at bay, and, lovely tracking there from Arrow, then Delta, Bronan just find too much value. So again, Percy over to the Freya. Again, we'll have to wait and see whether it's enough.
Yeah, it wouldn't be great for Freya to be barrel stuffed into the side of the map, so eventually moves back over to main, going onto the high ground, of course, trying to overlook as much of the map as humanly possible, utilize that absurd range advantage, but eventually you're going to need to find a shot onto someone. Probably without, flying off the map completely. It would be ideal for my Freya player to start doing that. But it seems like the Death by 1,000 Cut strategy is working. Even if Arrow gets absolutely shamoned by Reno there, Bliss Excelsior have such a massive health advantage and cooldown advantage they can just walk in with onto the objective.
Yeah, that they will. The final member to fall will be Delta, who's still a threat. But speaking of threats, Kalen. 3-piece from the Baptiste to close things out. 49% where the Buck's going to stop Bliss Excelsior. When you are playing double hit scan, right, being on the defensive is really where you want to be, where your angles are much harder to contest, where Arrow and Percy can get plenty of spam going as Reno and co, get these walk-ups happening. So this is where you want your comp to be. However, again, Bronan always lurking in the wings and looking to shut down somebody with a pulse bomb.
Yeah, tosses it in there. It's so close. Arrow ducking, I should say. Dipping and diving to get the dodge onto the pulse bomb. Eventually trying to keep Bronan honest in the backline right now. Hitbar Online has built up over to the tri-shot. So the poke that you were mentioning earlier from Bliss Excelsior going to be even deadlier. Budget approved. Try and move themselves to a more closed off side of the map. One where they can't be around as easily, take as many angles. See the front line, Orissa's just trading some
Hold up.
damage back and forth. Pull a shot in a really tight, condensed space, but I think that was a Suzu out at a perfect time from Ascend, along with the Kitsune rush. Bliss Excelsior, however, use their resources second. Delta gets fried there by the look of things. Bliss Excelsior gets hold on for a bit longer.
I think a great play from Power there to turn the tables on DYS Budget Proof, who tries to use that Wu Yang ultimate, right, that Tidal Blast to win the tank trade, but quick pop on that Terra Surge, and not only does he not go down, but he's able to just obliterate the HP of Reno. 2 boots are coming up to large fight territory now for Bliss Excelsior. The crunch onto Arrow could be pristine, but the healing is there in time.
Yeah, we're going to see a Visor popped as well. It's not going to be doing tons of damage by itself, but you combo up with a neatly aimed Helix rocket there, and Arrow are able to get their opposite hit scan number as well. Bliss Excelsior, even despite the seemingly on paper disadvantaged compositional matchup, still managed to get a win on downtown. We send ourselves over to Mecha Base for the tiebreak.
That we shall. Much better from Bliss Excelsior, and I have to say, with this style of composition, you almost expected this result to be reversed, right? Where it's a bit harder to find tracer value often on Sanctuary, where Soldier finds his best value, being so far off, being able to free spam in with that heavy pulse rifle. I don't know, heading to Mecha Base though, you don't really have these longer sightlines. It's much harder for your Soldier 76 to be, finding those types of angles. A tracer scaling onto him is going to be a hell of a lot easier. So, with all that said, Bliss Excelsior, love the momentum that they got on their side, but will it be enough? That's what we're going to have to wait and see.
And right now, don't want to curse anything, but the momentum of this map seems to be in favor of us having a competitive and pretty hotly contested grand finals. Exactly what we want to see here at CGL. Percy, of course, going to go to the widest angle possible on the map. Has to be careful of Bronan, who absolutely wants to be matching the hit scan, keeping them in check. The rest of the teams are going to be playing as a unit of 4, trying to jostle for this positioning of main.
Wow.
High ground, and Power just walks through, lands a spear onto Bronan, who wasn't expecting that stun to come out quite so quickly. Of course, with the Tracer gone, your ability to control the angles basically neutered as well, means that Arrow just more of a threat to take down the rest of the members of DYS.
Indeed, I'm really curious here that we don't see the Orisa shield perk coming out from either Orisa. Actually, both are going for Heavy Spear, which you'd think maybe finds a little bit less value in this matchup, but both are perfectly happy to find picks with it, as we see demonstrated there by the Orisa of Bliss Excelsior. Squaring up now and already pushed back by that self-same ability, and heavy ult lead for Bliss.
Yeah, can they utilize the ult advantage, however, to leverage themselves another fight win? It's going to be traded, but of course the tank for the DPS are going to take that any day of the week. Power can continue to be stalwart, protecting the rest of the team. Bronan gets speared all the way across the map right now. Power had a bit of a tough one in the first round, but has been stepping things up recently.
Indeed, yeah. Kind of got bullied there on Sanctuary, but other than that was pretty chilled. Tracer Chase is a lot of pressure. The Terra Surge not kited. Combined with the bowler shot, it's 3 for Bliss. Reno finds 1 back, but it matters absolutely not. Power, he said he'd feed, but so far I've been liking what I've been seeing. 50% here for Bliss Excelsior. And but DYS budget approved have not found squat. They have found, however, is a lead on basically every ultimate that matters. A huge advantage heading into this fight, but they cannot squander it.
No, that they cannot. We're going to see an early window come out from Ascend 2. Bronan just runs right through that one, able to get Tark taken out of the equation with a nasty, nasty one-clip. Arrow's still alive, however, and when you give the hit scans this range and this freedom to work with, you know they're eventually going to find something, and even if the Soldier isn't the most impactful character, it's, as we said earlier, can just kind of hit over and over and over again, and eventually they're just going to end up bleeding out. DYS budget proved, however, they're getting numbers back in this fight. Bronan hit a nice pulse bomb, and Ascend able to get their own high ground hit scan position, and now Tark as well. It's both of these Baptistes who are just DPSing their teams out of a pickle right now. It seems like budget approved, very scrappy affair should take the final cap when all is said and done.
Respawns are here, though, with Arrow going down. Maybe you do have to back. Great pick there from Ascend. Elsa, Bliss Excelsior would have been squaring up to the plate once again, right? I mean, super happy with that if you are DYS. You spend very little, you keep your big tools, right? This Terror Surge, the Sound Barrier, the Overclock, which means you can go mano a mano, at the very least with Bliss's. Try and exit the choke, but a quick spear spin from Reno keeps him back in there.
Yeah, Reno has to be very careful of their health right now. Opting to sit on the front line for a bit too long, potentially. And Arrow able to just go onto a different angle entirely. And, you know, take some names. Delta, however, fires back with the overclock, and now it's just a bit chaotic. We have the tank presence available for Bliss Excelsior, but finally going to be taken down. Visor popped in a high-pressure situation. Honestly, not the best ult in the world, so try and use it in a scrappy spot, but doesn't catch anything regardless. And despite the investments from Bliss Excelsior, budget approved are still the ones with the point capped.
Mecha base might be a pressure cooker in that case. Arrow burnt the chicken. At the end of the day, though, Bliss Excelsior, if you're going to trade any 2 ultimates for any 2, then you take those 4, essentially. Bubble on the Terror Surge, in so deep. Will it get a kill this time? Yes.
Really surprised. Winch seemed like they've gotten out of that one. Delta instead catching onto power, and Bronan, we know what a freak this guy's been on the Tracer thus far. Still trading everything out, catching 3 in the latter end of this fight. Right now, catching 4 as well to shut down this Tracer. Someone needs to stop them going hog wild over the entire lobby, but no one can, and DYS budget approved take the first map.
Yeah, that was quite something there. Super competitive, you know, especially once we got past the opening rounds of Sanctuary there. I think both teams able to show some really good stuff. You know, Power getting a lot of value from those Terror Surges. Obviously, Bronan able to win up feels like every single 1v1 is able to find. But, you know, when all is said and done, obviously it's going to be DYS budget approved to be able to convert on their early momentum and take map 1. Of course, this is a first to 3, so, you know, no first to 7 shenanigans that we'll have in the postseason, right? So, going down early like this, it's not ideal. You don't have the same amount of runway to pick yourself back up into the air. So, you are Bliss Excelsior. You best figure out what the problem is and fix it fast. Of course, first ban, map choice as well is going to be on their side. And all we can really do is wait and see what they want to do next.
Yeah, I mean, DYS obviously coming off of their tough loss, but now their confidence clearly picking up again. But honestly, for Bliss Excelsior, they are down, but they're definitely not out. They prove to be very competitive. I guess in theory it makes sense when you're able to go over to downtown. You can have your Freya playing on a high ground, and there's quite a decent amount of room to take angles and enable that double hit scan setup. But unfortunately, when push comes to shove, you get forced into Mecha Base, which is one, even despite having the entire area of the point, which is, you know, in theory, so open and so fantastic for hit scan, it's often very easy to get shot out, contested, and bullied. So instead, you're really fighting in those close quarters in that top side of the map. And it was, I mean, we've said their names so many times, right? But Bronan on the Tracer proving to be an absolute nutcase. The cast ban making lots of sense, and the next map pick, arguably also making some amount of sense from Bliss Excelsior, is going to be King's Row.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play weird frontline trading, double hit scan stuff with Orisa, I guess this works, right? Quite sure what else you can begin to head to. But also, if you're doing this, you need to figure out what is the main gap between your guys' compositions, you know, where you are falling down in this Orisa mirror. You could ban the Tracer, right? Absolutely. But I feel like a ban like Trace, you probably want to save for something more like a Suravasa, right? Where you know that she's still strong, still can find value. Instead, I'd probably look at backline differences.